Hi everyone. So this week is Shavuot for so many reasons, really great ones. We celebrate Shavuot with a lot of dairy food. One reason is that during this time period, it's when the young animals are out and grazing and they create an abundance of dairy products. So we're starting with a Pashtida. Pashtida is an Israeli term for a crustless quiche. It's filled with a variety of vegetables and cheeses and eggs. Sometimes the cheese is in, sometimes the cheese is out. So I just call it a tray bake in English, but the Hebrew word pashtida for our zucchini, pea, and ricotta. Tray bake pashtida. So follow along as we give you the details on how to make this stunning, delicious dish. All right, here we go. We need to get started with frying an onion. So my onion is frying, but this particular bake or pashtida actually has pesto in it. I call for store-bought, but I can't get any store-bought, so I'm making my own, which really isn't a big deal at all. We make pesto all the time in this house because my kids really love pesto on pasta. I use it as a salad dressing. So I'm gonna make a load, even though I only need 2 tablespoons for this recipe. Give my onions a stir so they don't catch, but let's get on with the pesto. In my food processor is going 90 grams, which is quite a lot, of basil, which I've washed and checked, and it's been drying for a while. And I make pesto with coriander, with parsley, but I always come back to basil. I really love that peppery, fresh taste of the basil. I also make my pesto dairy-free, just because we tend to eat it all the time, sometimes with a meat meal, sometimes with a milk meal, so I try to keep it dairy-free. And into here goes 4 cloves of garlic, which I minced, and along with that, 60 grams of pine nuts, which I toasted. Don't skip the toasting of the pine nuts. In my haste, I usually burn them, but which often I'm like, oh, just don't bother toasting them because you will burn them. But the pesto tastes so much better, especially as we're leaving out the Parmesan cheese, which is really one of those pesto flavor layers that you want, but because I'm leaving it out, definitely need to do that step of toasting the pine nuts. So we're gonna pulse until it all comes together. And I'm keeping my eye on the onions as I do this. So half distracted, half with you, but that's really all it takes. I want it to be nice and minced. And what I'm gonna do now is I have 100 ml of olive oil, and I'm going to stream it in. And that is pretty much it. My pesto is done. I'm going to now draw my attention back to my onions. Let me show you. That's 1 onion that is happily browning. I'm gonna add to that 2 cloves of garlic, which I minced, and just give it a stir. I want my onions nice and soft and starting to turn golden brown. I don't actually need them to be a deep dark brown, which I love in a lot of dishes, but for this one, I just want it to be soft and starting to caramelize. So I'm gonna turn off my onions now that I could smell the garlic, and draw our attention back to the pesto. Really important to get everything off the sides of the food processor. And let's give it another whirl. And yes, we've got pesto, super exciting, but pesto definitely needs seasoning. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I will judge again and have a taste and see if our pesto is ready. Let's taste. Yay, pesto. I love pesto. Pesto is so good. It's like this super vibrant, super green. Oh, that is so good. Super peppery, and not because of the pepper I added, but because basil is so peppery. So let's put together our pashtida, which actually only takes minutes to do. So the base of it is 450 grams of grated zucchini. The reason the box grater is here because I chose too small of a plate. So, woo! Lots of zucchini going in there, or courgette, which I think is really cool. Here in the UK, they call zucchinis courgettes after the French name, and in America, we call it zucchini after the Italian name, which tells you a little bit about the people who settled in each country. So 450 grams, which is about 2 medium small zucchinis or courgettes grated. To that, I'm going to add all the rest of my ingredients, starting with 6 eggs, which need to be, or was it 5 eggs? Ooh, I don't know. I don't remember anymore. The day keeps on going, which need a good beating in there, but it's in the recipe, I promise. And to that, I'm going to add 150 grams of flour, 300 grams of solid ricotta. You could see that, right? It's nice and solid, even though it will break up a bit. And 1 cup, 80 grams of freshly grated Parmesan. Don't use this stuff, the powdery stuff. That powdery stuff has its uses, and it is delicious when mixed with like popcorn. But I don't know that we should use it for other things so much. All right, I'm giving everything a good mix, making sure that the eggs really integrate into the rest of my ingredients. I should have allowed my onion and garlic to cool down a bit more, but the reason I'm not is because who has the patience? So I'm gonna add my warm onion and garlic to this, but I've mixed in the eggs, so hopefully the eggs won't start scrambling. All right, give that all a mix. This is, by the way, one of my kids' favorites. I am so excited to be able to serve them this for Shavuot. All right, into that goes frozen, but now thawed peas in there. When I started this morning, the peas were a solid block, so make sure your peas are individual. Everyone's an individual. And our last ingredient in here is 2 tablespoons of our pesto. There's 1 and 2. And just give it all a good mix, and it's gonna go into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit. I'm gonna have a taste with a clean spoon, even though there's raw egg, just to make sure it doesn't need more seasoning. Even raw, it's delicious. I'm gonna add a drop of salt because even though the ricotta is slightly salty, the entire thing just needs a good, like, boost of salt. And my prepared pan is here. My mix is going into the prepared pan. It's gonna go into the oven. Trust me on this, make it. Yes, it does require some grating, but the results are amazing and really not that much work at all. So, see you soon with our ricotta tray bake, pashtida, whatever we're gonna call it. And let's get ready for Shavuot. See you soon.